This Dharma, incomparably profound and minutely subtle, is rarely encountered, even in hundreds of thousands of millions of ages. Now we see it, hear it, hold and maintain it. May we completely realize the Tathagata's true meaning.
You can tuck your chant sheet away.
So this Sunday is a culmination of a series of talks I've been giving on the Heart Sutra. I will chant that sutra at the end of this session. This is probably the best known Buddhist sutra, chanted probably every hour of every day, somewhere in the world, not always in the same language though. It's an important sutra. It's a teaching. When at the end of the day, the Jikido will chant Maha Prajna Paramita Heart Sutra, and also keep time on the Makugyo, the sort of drum thing, and we'll all chant it. The Maha means great. And we'll talk about what Prajna Paramita means as we go along today. So this is a kind of quick and dirty review of the longer talks that I've given, and also some comments on the epilogue. The sutra has a part which we chant, and then there's a prologue and an epilogue, which we do not chant, but which I'll say a few words about. So to begin, I'm going to read you the first part of the sutra, so you'll know what I'm talking about when I start talking. Avalokiteshvara, doing deep prajna paramita, clearly saw emptiness of all the 5 conditions, thus completely relieving misfortune and pain. O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is exactly emptiness, emptiness exactly form. Sensation, conception, discrimination, awareness are likewise like this. O Shariputra, let there be light. All dharmas are forms of emptiness, not born, not destroyed, not stained, not pure, without loss, without gain. So in emptiness there is no form, no sensation, no conception, no discrimination, no awareness, no eye, no ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, no color, sound, smell, taste, touch, phenomena, no realm of sight, no realm of consciousness, no realm of, no ignorance and no end to ignorance, no old age and death and no end to old age and death, no suffering, no cause of suffering, no extinguishing, no pain, no wisdom, and no gain. So the prologue sets this up. I'm going to get my addenda here. I have another light, just in case this one doesn't work, which it generally doesn't. Okay, there we go. The prologue sets up the Sutra as a group sermon. This group consists of many like Zen worthies, some of whom are named. Buddha and Avalokiteshvara are there, and both of them are in deep meditation. Avalokiteshvara announces that he has gained some new wisdom from this meditation. Supposedly, Buddha is some kind of telepathy with Avalokiteshvara, and is like feeding this wisdom in the meditation. So the wisdom that he has gained is this: all 5 conditions are empty. You heard that line just now. The 5 conditions are also called in some translations the 5 aggregates. So the terms are kind of interchangeable. Avalokiteshvara then goes on to explain this, what he means by seeing this emptiness. So he says that all the 6 senses, in Buddhism there are 6 senses: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. It adds mind. So that the actual physical senses and the mind processes, which we use to decode what the raw data which we get through the senses, all of these things are empty. So this is why the sutra says no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, and then goes on to say that all the mind processes are empty too: no sensation, conception, discrimination, awareness. So all these things together are what are known as the aggregates, or the 5 conditions. So then Avalokiteshvara, and she's addressing sometimes she's known as a she. He's addressing in this sutra Shariputra, that's who this guy is. And Shariputra is a practitioner, sometimes known as a dud practitioner, sometimes known as a kind of advanced practitioner. Avalokiteshvara is addressing Shariputra, that's why he says, "Oh, Shariputra." So Avalokiteshvara goes on to develop the theme of emptiness, and says probably the most famous lines in the sutra: all dharmas are forms of emptiness. So there are two meanings to dharma. A dharma is a thing. This bowl is a dharma. This stand is a dharma. And then also dharma means the actual teachings of Buddhism. The dharma is the teachings. A dharma is a thing. So Avalokiteshvara explains all dharmas are empty. All things are empty, which he's already said. All dharmas are forms of emptiness. But now he is going on to actually talk about the teachings of Buddhism. Now you would think these would be quite revered and upheld, but this is not the case. He goes on here to just demolish them and say that they're all empty. So all the basic premises of Buddhism, he says, are empty. Basically what Buddha has said is that we're ignorant of reality. Sometimes this is called delusion. And also that our ignorance of the truth is the cause of our suffering. And it's that we have to, in order not to suffer, we have to wake up from our ignorance. So Avalokiteshvara goes on to say, There is no wisdom. There is no gain. There is no ignorance. There is no end to ignorance. So it just says, forget this. This is all empty. Then what Buddha also taught is sometimes known as the Eightfold Path. It tells us, okay, what do we have to do? What path do we have to follow to drop our ignorance? So Avalokita denies that the Eightfold Path is important. He implies that we don't need the path because we have already arrived. You know, if you're at your destination, you don't need the way. Since emptiness implies that people are also empty, that we're empty of self. So in this case, if there is no self, then there's no self to grow old and die. So he declares no old age and death. But then he does, this is something that we might all like to cling to, right? So he doesn't want us to get stuck in this particular truth. It's true, no old age and death. But it's not a final truth. So he immediately adds after that in the sutra that in the world of form, there is old age and death. So he says there's no old age and death and no end to old age and death. Both. It's important to remember when we're talking about the Heart Sutra, which has such a big stress on emptiness, what does Buddhism mean by empty? So the Heart Sutra is telling us that all things are impermanent. Impermanent because always changing. This is one of the first things the Buddha said. Everything is in flux. So because things are always changing, they're not the same thing from moment to moment. Sometimes the changes in the next moment might be imperceptible to our senses, but sometimes they're quite, quite obvious. I mean, there was just a big earthquake in Burma, right? And they thought those buildings were quite permanent. But if you looked at it at just the right moment, you would see them crumble and change. So that is what it means, that things change. They're not quite the same from moment to moment. Further, what is meant by emptiness is that all things are inextricably connected to each other. That nothing is able to exist except in relatedness to all other things. Because what is it that causes the changes from moment to moment? What it is that other things are having an effect on everything around it. So that's causing the change. So that everything is always tied to its gestalt, to its environment, and ultimately to the entire universe. I mean, we don't usually think about, being affected by, outer space, but we are, there are things like sunstorms and things like that, which affect us all the time. We're not always terribly conscious of them. So when we say empty, we mean impermanent because changing and not able to exist individually all by themselves because they're constantly supported and affected by everything around them. That includes you. If you were the only person on earth, you'd die. So that's what they're meaning here. Though the Heart Sutra is generally thought to be a sutra about emptiness, which it certainly is, it doesn't imply that things don't have form as well. Because emptiness cannot exist all by itself. There is no emptiness floating around that you're going to somehow come into contact with when you're meditating. Emptiness is always emptiness of something particular, of a particular form. Therefore, the deepest truth about reality is what the Heart Sutra says. Form is emptiness, emptiness is form. All right, so that's the whole first part of the sutra. Now here's the second half, more like a second third. I'll read it to you and then we'll talk about it a little. So the sutra goes on to say, no gain, and thus the bodhisattva lives prajna paramita, with no hindrance in the mind. No hindrance, therefore no fear. Far beyond deluded thoughts. This is nirvana. All past, present, and future Buddhas live prajna paramita. And therefore they attain anuttara samyak sambodhi. Therefore know prajna paramita is the great mantra, the vivid mantra, the best mantra, the unsurpassable mantra. It completely clears all pain. This is the truth, not a lie. So set forth the prajna paramita mantra. Set forth this mantra and say, gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha, prajna paramita. So the second section begins by saying there's no gain, and thus the bodhisattva lives prajna paramita. By saying no gain, the sutra here is referring to all those lines that we just talked about where he says no wisdom, no gain, no path. This is just a continuation of that. And what this line is pointing out is that this prajna wisdom, which the bodhisattva or the practitioner, we can all be bodhisattvas, so although sometimes it's used as a very special, highly developed practitioner, but it doesn't have to mean that. So all practitioners will live prajna paramita, the wisdom of emptiness. He's talking here about anybody who becomes enlightened. The thing that makes them enlightened is that they have seen the truth of emptiness. The line continues, they all live prajna paramita, and therefore they attain anuttara samyak sambodhi. They not only are realizing emptiness, but they're living it. Their life comes out of this wisdom. And they're attaining perfect enlightenment. That anuttara samyak sambodhi is complete, unexcelled enlightenment. Sometimes Buddha is said to be the only one who attains it, but other times it's set up as a goal for all of us. So the sutra is saying that this prajna paramita is the prerequisite of Buddhahood. This is true whether we're talking about the many flesh and blood ordinary Buddhists around or mythical Buddhas. There are a lot of mythical Buddhas incorporated into official Buddhism. That's what it says, all Buddhas. There are supposedly 7 past Buddhas who lived before Shakyamuni Buddha. Go figure how they were Buddhists before Buddhism existed, but that's what it says. And there are future Buddhas as well. These are all mythical people. Maitreya is known as the future Buddha. So anybody, the past Buddhas, the future Buddhas, and everybody in between, what makes them a Buddha is that they have gotten this wisdom of emptiness, this prajnaparamita. So then Avalokiteshvara continues to talk and say that once we have realized this prajnaparamita, this wisdom of emptiness, we will have no hindrance in the mind. No hindrance, therefore no fear. And we will be far beyond deluded thoughts. The hindrance that you had before you saw the wisdom of emptiness is that you thought things existed as permanent and separate objects. That's what we all think, because that's how the world appears to us through our senses. But once you realize the truth of emptiness, then you no longer have this hindrance. You no longer have these deluded thoughts. In fact, the Sutra tells us you are then in nirvana. And the lack of fear, which the Sutra promises, occurs because generally fear is about yourself, protecting yourself. So if you've realized emptiness and you realize there is no self, then what's to protect? What is there to be afraid of? So Avalokiteshvara continues and says, therefore no prajnaparamita is the great mantra, the vivid mantra, the best mantra, the unsurpassable mantra. Just piles up these praise words. It completely clears all pain. This is the truth, not a lie. So because the teaching on emptiness presented in the sutra is so crucial, so fundamental to Buddhism, Avalokiteshvara celebrates the sutra. You know, he adds all these words: great, vivid, best, unsurpassable. This is very typical. I mean, Buddhism is not shy about praising itself. Almost every sutra you read will have a lot of promises in there about how fabulous this particular teaching is, and if you follow it, wonderful things will happen. So there are similar passages in almost all sutras. This is to encourage people, of course, and also to solidify for people that this is an orthodox teaching of Buddha. Now, Buddha has been dead for a couple hundred years by the time this sutra gets going, but never mind. They want you to know that Buddha taught it anyway. You know, there's this whole thing in the introduction where he's, sending brainwaves to Avalokiteshvara. So what's going on here is it says the best mantra, you know. So although all sutras have passages of praise, not all sutras contain a mantra. This one does. Mantras tend to be prominent in Tibetan Buddhism. They have mantras, you know, like little magic formulas kind of thing. But it's not very common in Zen. So this one, we should probably pay attention to it because it's unusual. The mantra remains untranslated. It's in Pali, which is the original liturgical language of Buddhism. So Avalokiteshvara commands us at the end, set forth, say it, set forth this mantra, set forth the Prajnaparamita mantra, set forth this mantra and say, here comes the mantra, Gate, Gate, Paragate, Parasamgate, Bodhisvaha, Prajna, Paramita. So what does it mean? You know, there's, as in all things in Buddhism, since there's so many languages involved, there's several translations, but you get they all carry the same gist. Sometimes mantras are called protectors of the mind, because if you chant them, they kind of fill your mind and keep you from having deluded thoughts. Sometimes they're considered to be for people who can't get it through understanding, you know, they're not sharp enough. So they should chant the mantra and this will be their way to the truth. So what is meant by this Prajnaparamita? It means something like this, gone, gone, gone beyond. Gate, gate means gone. Paragate means beyond. So gone, gone, gone beyond. Supposedly each of these gones represents a particular stage of practice until you are gone beyond, which means fully realized. Gone completely beyond. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, that's the gone completely beyond. Bodhisvaha, so the Bodhi means enlightenment. So where are you gone to? You're gone to enlightenment. And the svaha is like a greeting, it could mean hail. Svaha, prajna paramita, hail the wisdom of emptiness. I ran across one translation that translated this svaha as ah, which might be appropriate. Once you're enlightened, you just go ah. There is some suggestion here in this gone, gone beyond, sometimes translated as gone, crossed over, some suggestion to the story in Buddhist literature about taking a raft over the river. Supposedly practices like you're on one shore and you hop on a raft to cross the river to the other shore. The raft is the Dharma teachings. And when you get to the other shore, that's nirvana, and you let the raft go, you don't need it anymore. So there's some suggestion of this image in this mantra as well. So the mantra is the end of the sutra, which we chant, and not just us, most Buddhist groups. I have never attended a Buddhist group that chanted the prologue and the epilogue. But there is a short epilogue. When you hear it, you'll know why we don't chant it. There's not much teaching in it, first of all, and but I'll present it so you'll have the full picture. So this is what it says. It says Shariputra. There's Shariputra again. The Bodhisattva, the Mahasattva, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom in this way, meaning in the way the sutra is setting out. Then the transcendent victor is Buddha. Then the transcendent victor rose from that samadhi and said to the Bodhisattva, the Mahasattva, the superior Avalokiteshvara, well done, well done, well done, child of good lineage. Child of good lineage doesn't mean your parents, it means your Buddhist lineage. It is just so, child of good lineage. It is like that. The profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced just as you have taught it. Even the Tathagatas admire this. The transcendent victor having spoken, the venerable Shariputra, the Bodhisattva, the Mahasattva, the superior Avalokiteshvara, and all those surrounding, and those of the world, the gods and humans, demigods and Gandharas, were filled with admiration and praised the words of the transcendent victor. So it just kind of ties things up a little more, urging about how great this teaching is and why you should follow it. And that's the epilogue. It doesn't really contain further teachings. So having gone through this sutra and its teachings, it might be legitimate to ask what kind of questions and what kind of promptings does it give to modern practitioners. It seems to me the sutra is asking us, how will we eliminate all the refuges we cling to allow us to think the universe is solid and permanent? It's asking us how we can stop seeing things as separate and detached from each other. It's asking, how can we cling to self so hard? Why do we want to shore up our idea of a solid and isolated self, rather than see self as empty and linked to everything else? For all of us, what keeps us separate might be a different reason. But we all cling to the idea of a self, and often to a particular idea of the self. So we all need to ask ourselves, what is it that our self, or maybe our self-importance, cannot bear to see as empty? You know, it is said that patriotism is the last refuge of scoundrels. So what is our last refuge from emptiness? Why do we not want to let go of self? Is it romantic love? Is it success? Is it money? Is it freedom? Is it escape from suffering? Is it being right? Or is what makes us cling to self a more negative idea of a self we can't let go of? Is it the idea that we're worthless, that we deserve suffering, that we don't deserve anything good, that we're unlovable, that we can't do anything right? What is it? You can ask yourself this on the cushion. Can we do as the sutra proposes and exit the self-centered dream, whatever it happens to be for each of us? You know, a funny thing happens when we see the emptiness of all things. We see the fullness and wholeness of all things. Everything is more real rather than what you might expect, less real when you think of them as empty. So now, after all these words and all this analysis, I will give you the real meaning of the sutra. A monk called Lin Yun, who was later a Buddhist teacher, was walking in the mountains. His mind was relaxed and open. He rounded a bend in the path and he saw a peach tree in bloom. He wrote this poem just for you. For 30 years, I searched. How many times did the leaves fall and the branches burst into bud? But from the moment I saw the peach blossoms, I've had no doubts. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha, prajna paramita.